this. We are the people who built Noah's Ark. I'm about to prove that to you right now.
But E. Calloway is content, for he has found the Garden of Eden. And I can prove that this is paradise. And the Lord planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. This sacred spot, contends Calloway, is here to the east of the Apalachicola River in the unspoiled country of the Florida Panhandle. Here grow trees pleasant to the sight, including gopher trees, the long-needled torreya which Noah used to build the ark. Oh, Mr. Calloway, you say that this is the Garden of Eden.
The Garden of Eden, east and west, is not over 10 miles wide, paralleling the river from Chattahoochee down to Bristol. But you're right in the center of it here at Torreya State Park, north and south, between Chattahoochee and Bristol. This is the Pison River, which is mentioned in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when it says, a river went out of Eden to water the garden and parted and became into 4 heads. The Bible names 28 trees. The best authority on earth have identified 27 of them here, and many more, including the gopherwood tree. The Bible names those 4 river heads as the Pison, the Gihon or Gihon, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. The first one was the Pison. The Bible says that is it that compasseth the land of Havilah, which was North Florida before the flood, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is G-O-O-D. The Bible used that adjective to describe the North Florida gold to further tie down the exact location of the Garden of Eden. The next verse says there's also bdellium there, which is nothing but rosin out of pine trees that God instructed Noah to pitch the ark out of, and onyx stone, which is marble. And North Georgia, right where this great river has its source, is one of the largest marble areas in the world. The Tate Marble Quarry and Company there at Tate, Georgia, is one of the largest. So the natural monuments definitely mentioned and described in the Bible as being related to the Garden of Eden are here, and they are not anywhere else on this earth. When the idea or the notion or the belief that the Garden of Eden was somewhere else or over in Europe or in Africa or someplace over there, the Western Hemisphere was unknown. They did not know that the continent existed west of the Atlantic Ocean. Therefore, they couldn't search this continent along with the others to find the River of 4 Heads and these other great natural monuments which the Bible said was related to the Garden of Eden.
He clearly stated that the Garden of Eden is not in Africa or the fake Middle East that they made up to throw you off.
Calloway points with pride to the official map of the U.S. engineers at Chattahoochee, which shows what Calloway says is the only 4-head river system in the world. That is a system described in the Bible, where in Genesis, the river flowing out of Eden, which waters the garden, parts and becomes into 4 heads. First there is the Gihon, now known as the Flint River, which flows towards the land of Ethiopia. Then the Euphrates, the Spring Creek River, whose name was transferred to the Middle East after the flood. The Hiddekel River is Fish Pond Creek River, which borders the land of ancient Assyria. And finally the last of the 4 rivers, the wide and lovely Pison, the Chattahoochee, today a river of trade and commerce. The Apalachicola seems an unlikely name for the river flowing through Eden, but here, according to Calloway, is the heart of the garden. This peaceful river is the life source of the lush vegetation of the original habitat of the first man and woman. According to Calloway, the names of these rivers and the land surrounding them were transferred to the other side of the world when, after floating in the ark for 40 days and 40 nights, Noah and his family landed on Mount Ararat in Turkey. The legend of the Bountiful Garden, too, was transferred to the Middle East, where archaeologists have searched in vain for a 4-head river system, such as described in the Bible.
So I have shown y'all this book before, The Yucatan Before and After the Conquest. It was written by Friar Diego de Landa. He was actually there with the Israelites, the Indians, the people that they call the Aztecs, the Chiapas. Like there's so many different tribes because there are 12 tribes after all of Israel. So all of them were different tribes. Let's take a look inside. This book is basically talking about those in the South, from Mexico all the way down to South America. They were conquered, but this was the Yucatan where it actually took place. These are the same people that talked about the locusts. We know that about from Pharaoh, the famines. They talked about the flood of Noah. And guess what else they talked about? How they wandered in the wilderness of the Yucatan for 40 years. Of the Yucatan. Okay? Not Africa. The Yucatan, which is in Mexico. Now take a look at the red markings that I have at the top. It says the Indians relate that there came into Yucatan from the south tribes with their chiefs, which are the Levitical priests. That's their chiefs. Okay? And they came from Chiapa. Now, these people, they came from the south, like South America, up to the Yucatan. And that's exactly what's going on right here. So as you can see where I have it underlined, how it was a custom for them to take care of their crippled and their blind. And you know, this fits the Israelites. It also talks about how chiefs were appointed and governors, and their offices were passed down to their sons. These are the Levitical priests. These are the Israelites, clearly. Above my head, you clearly see that it says that there was a plague of locusts for 5 years, so great that there was nothing green left. And there was also a famine that ensued as a result of it. And many of them fell dead. That's the Israelites. Here is more proof that I actually presented in the other videos. It says that the women of the Yucatan were generally of better build than the Spanish women. They had bigger butts. They were large booties. They were negresses. You see the arrow pointing to it where it says negresses. It says they were dark skinned. It has nothing to do with Africa. We are in the Yucatan right now. We're talking about the Yucatan, not Africa. Negresses. That's us. So now that I've set all of this up for you, you will clearly see how the slave trade was told in reverse. The people were taken from over here in the Americas, and then they were sent up through Europe and into Africa. But we'll get into that a little bit later. I want to show you something else first about Noah. So let's talk about gopher wood. That's what Noah used to construct the ark. The only place that gopher wood is found is in the United States, Florida, to be exact. Not Africa, not the fake Middle East, but the United States of America.
Noah built the ark out of gopher wood, which God selected himself for him to build it. This is the only place on this earth where it has ever grown. Noah built the ark out of wood not very far from where you and I are sitting here at Torrey State Park. It was loaded, and then it floated 5 months and landed on Mount Ararat, where we know definitely that it's now embedded in the ice.
You will now be hearing from Jack Forbes, an advocate for the indigenous people.
Columbus chose to finance the conquest of the West Indies by selling Native American slaves. And he characterized it as his granjeria, or granary. In other words, it was the granary that was going to pay for the conquest, that is, Native American bodies. And Columbus himself sent at least 3,000 and possibly as many as 6,000 or more Native American slaves to Europe. This begins as early as 1493. On his return voyage, he takes about 24 Native Americans to Portugal and Spain. In the subsequent voyages, many, many more are sent, men and women.
The ship pictured here is an exact replica of the ship that Christopher Columbus used in his first voyage across the North Atlantic in 1492. From various locations throughout the Caribbean, The ship's original name was La Galega, then changed to La Santa Maria de la Inmaculada Concepcion. In English, it was the Holy Mary of the Immaculate Conception. It's abundantly clear that the Roman Catholic Church had everything to do with the enslavement of the Israelites.